Run It Back, Oceania's #1, as voted by you, the fans. You know, you can vote for us on the Streaming Awards. Apparently, they set aside a section for the best Oceanic Valorant podcast, and I think we're the only entry. So please come vote for us at the Streamings. But yes, we're back for another edition of Run It Back, and I'm Dougie. I'm joined by my wonderful co-casters, as I like to call them, because, you know, they're fancy casters. I'm just a puny little journalist. Avril and Racket. I got it right this week. I'm getting better at this. How are we going, guys?
Yeah, it's a great night, mate. I've got coffee, so that will ensure I have energy throughout the whole time. So pretty good.
You're talking about the praises of coffee in the pre-show. Like, I remember you saying that, like, if you need motivation in life, you just need coffee, and I totally agree. Like, I don't. Well, have
that
a cup
speech was
right
conducted by coffee.
Yeah,
there we go.
Apparently, no one can hear Avril. I hope that's fixed now, because I really want to make sure that the stream can hear his wonderful dulcet tones. He can hear. He's here. How you? I'm doing a redo. How you were going? Oh, apparently he can't be heard. Oh well, whatever. It's the Rack and Ducky show. Welcome. We didn't plan for this.
Yes.
But I guess before we get our guest on, we'll make sure that Avril's tech issues are wired out. I guess we can talk about how we feel. I don't know. We talked about how you're going today with the coffee. How's your week been? It's been exactly 7 days since we last spoke on Run It Back.
Yes. Well, I don't know, man. Like, Run It Back, it feels like we do this show like twice a week. Like, it's come around quick this time, you know? Is that because I enjoy it? Maybe, but I don't know. You know, as you get older, time just flies. You know, when you talk about that sort of subject to your parents, you just sort of knock it off to the side. You're like, what are you doing, boomer? But then it's actually a true statement. That's the end of the Racket rant. Avril, is your audio fixed?
Is my audio fixed?
I'm just gonna say yes, because we need it.
I need Josh to tell me. I need Josh to tell me my audio is fixed.
He's good.
Okay, the good news was it wasn't on my end, thankfully. I didn't mess anything up. I was just streaming before this. Is it something? No one knows who Josh is. No, I'm just joking. We love you, Josh. I love you specifically. No, it's all good. It's fine. So yeah, how am I doing? I'm doing good. Much better that it's all working now, and you can hear me on the show. That is on the Discord. You can obviously hear me. As it's been a good weekend and hopefully a very strong week as well. I'm having a lot of fun right now, and I'm hoping we can get into some real action.
Before we get into our interview with Kyta of Magic 5 and Riot, I just want to say big congratulations for getting one of the gigs for the NSG NA First Strike qualifiers. Very, very proud of you. How excited are you to be able to cast that event?
I'm just excited to finally get on First Strike. You know, it's the there's a certain First Strike that I can't get on, and others that I can get on. So I'm just glad I can get on what I can get on.
Yeah. Well, look. Apparently, Riot really wants to highlight Worlds, so we can't have it in OS, but you know, NA can have it. So, but that's an issue for another day. Let's introduce our guest for this week. He is, I guess, like many guests that we've had on the show, one of the stars of Oceanic Valorant. He is one of the members of the newly signed and rather unfortunately named Riot Gaming. Like ex-Magic 5, you know. I've heard they've had some real struggles trying to get their clan tags on their Valorant accounts. But anyways, let's ask him about this himself.
Just put Riot in there? Oh my god.
How are you going today, mate?
Hello. Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Bit of a lazy Tuesday, but other than that, feeling great, mate. Feeling great.
Now, I guess we should really get that one off right at the top. So, like, Riot Gaming, like, first of all, congrats on getting signed. Second of all, how unfortunate is the name?
It's look, it's pretty unfortunate. It's pretty unfortunate, but you know, maybe people will think that we're actually signed by Riot, and maybe they'll forfeit and just let us win. Who knows?
I want you to know, if you get to like a proper Riot like event, I'm 99% sure that you won't be allowed to use that name. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
We haven't.
What do you mean, Kev? It's R exclamation mark
have-
OT. That's the
Yeah.
name. It's not Riot.
So the name was, as my friend described, it's ROT. So the R's really loud.
I mean, look, I would have thought, going back to a bit of a throwback to Russell Peters, because they're not like an exclamation, not like a click in the name. Like, it could be like a,
True.
a North African language, something like that. I'm not too sure. Like you could spin it around.
We could.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
it's
just,
like
you
a search term. Like the exclamation mark can just be any number or letter.
Yeah.
Like you
Very
can just
true.
it can be Riot or something like that. You can mix it up.
It'd be like if you walked into you played in an R6 league and you named your team Ubisoft, but the O is a 0. Or, you play in like Overwatch Contenders. Your name is Blizzard, but the 1 is an I. So that's how you get away with it. So well done, guys. You figured it
There
out.
you go, geniuses.
Yeah.
What I'm really curious about is actually when Riot Studios was created, because I don't know when League came out, but our organization's been going since 2005. So maybe we have the rights and they don't.
Well, League released
League
in
was longer than
2009.
that.
I don't know.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
League was released in 2009.
Wow.
I think Riot was created in like 2007.
Get
So,
him.
hey,
We're
now-
we're in the money.
Yo,
get into-
your org needs to like
Copyright
DMCA
call,
or
mate.
something. They need to like, you got to get some legality in this right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Got a
saying.
Lay
money
down
to the
the
end
law.
there, man.
Oh. Anyways, enough talking about a name. I would, for the wonderful viewers that might not know who you are, I would really like to get to know you a bit better, talk about your history before Valorant and where you are today with Magic 5/Riot.
Okay, awesome. Well, my history before Valorant's not really anything to do with gaming. I mean, I've always been gaming my whole life. I probably started when I was 9 years old, which is about 50 years ago at this rate. But I've been before Valorant, I started back playing Counter-Strike. I never really took the game seriously, but I thought with the state of the world, the way it currently is, I thought maybe I'll give it a shot. So I think 2 or 3 months before Valorant came out, I started playing Counter-Strike, and here we are.
Yeah. So absolutely no competitive experience with any title before Valorant. Like, what drove you to the competitive side then?
So I've always been a very competitive person. I mean, I played and streamed a bit of Fortnite in like 2017 or whenever that was big. But I never really taken it far in any professional scene, really. I just played Counter-Strike for fun. Occasionally, I think we did the Cyber Gamer amateur leagues with like some mates, but yeah, we never really took it far at all. So it was just, I guess, putting in the time in Valorant where we've really hit my stride, I guess.
You say that, but I bet your face at rank tang, bro.
I don't think I was, actually. I think at my best in like 2015 or 2016, I might have been, but I think I was playing like ESEA back then, not Face It, so I'm not too sure, yeah.
Yeah. And what is, I guess, it's hard saying this now because it's been out for like almost 6 months when you think about it, but how has the transition to Valorant been? Oh god, it's been 6 months. Jesus
I
Christ,
know. I don't think I can remember a time before Valorant. It's been that bloody long now. I've been grinding this game non-stop since it came out. But the transition, like, I think I took to it quite well. I really enjoy getting my hands on a new game, and that was one of the things that drove me to pursue this professionally. Was just I could be ahead of the curve if I put the time in. So here we are.
Ducky, by the way, you're going to get to a stage where, like, a future guest, you ask them, and it'll be so far down the line, they're like, what do you mean? This is my only game that I've ever played.
I know. It's one of my, like, easy questions I can slap at the top of the run sheet and be like, yeah, people are going to ask this. We're going to be asking this question for, like, 2 years, and it's going to be, like, some 13-year-old Zoomer coming on, like, what do you mean, bro? I didn't play TF2 or anything before this. I didn't play CSGO before this. What the hell is a Valve?
This is my first game. Like, what do you want? Like,
I don't want to be like those older kids who play Fortnite. They're so cringe, bro. Like, that's what they're going to be saying. Like, it's just going to blow my mind. Yeah. But how did the Magic 5 roster come together? That is a good question. So the
Magic 5 roster was basically when I was playing CS back in, like, I think it started in 2012, but I kind of hated it. I preferred COD. I didn't know why I was inaccurate when I was moving. It didn't make sense to me. But pretty early on into playing CS, I met a friend just in a competitive game, and we just clicked right away. And we were playing like CS and whatever games ever since. And we decided to make M5 back in CS. Just we tried to get a roster together. We only ever got 4 people, but that's where like sort of like the name came from. And then Valorant dropped, and all we could play was unrated. So I was playing unrated nonstop, and I met Junior actually. He found my stream, I think, through the OS Val Discord, and I ended up getting him on the team, and 2 of the guys from that we met in CS, which were just friends of friends, were on the were playing as well, and that was like the original roster that we were playing with. And then as we got a bit more serious, I think Junior was friends with Dodds, and Dodds was on a previous team with Yakuza, and so both of those players ended up joining the roster, and we ended up trying to play with them, and basically just formed this group of crack nobodies that have no experience, and just decided we wanted to make it.
Well, that's interesting as well, because like a question that I wanted to ask, and you pretty much led it on perfectly, is when do you start recognizing that you guys are actually good? Because, you know, a team can have so many phases, right? You're starting off, especially, well, you said yourself that, you know, you guys didn't have the most recognizable roster. At which point does the sort of light bulb flick in your head and you're like, all right, we've had a few upsets. Are we actually like a good team now? We can compete? When did that sort of click in for you?
Yeah, so that was like a big not, I don't want to say an issue for us, but like a big just part about how we played at the start was like, you can't really go into it confidently when you're coming up against all these big names with, you know, years and years of experience and results to back it. You know, they've played on stages, they've played in countless tournaments, and they have all that experience. But it's when you start holding your own or beating teams that have that sort of experiences when your opinion of your team and your opinion of like yourself as a player starts shifting. And I think for Yakuza, I think his opinion might have changed when he got the number 7 in APAC.
So. I was just about to ask about that. How is his ego going after being named the number 1 OS player?
Honestly, I think he's got less of an ego now than he had from before then.
How does that work?
It'd be a great feeling for him. I don't know, man. He's geared in. He really wants to do well, and I actually think his attitude towards the game is getting better and better the longer time goes on. So it's exciting to see.
And obviously that you guys, I guess the core's been together for quite some time now, at least. Like, I think the number one thing although we're looking forward to First Strike, you know, we've also got to look back at Ignition Series and the Community Cups as well. Like, in those first few events in Oceanic Valorant, like, do you feel like your expectations were hit? Were they missed? You know, what has the team improved on since then? How has the dynamic changed?
I'm trying to think. So this team, this current roster, I think our first tournament was the Rise of Valor quals. So we didn't actually participate in the Community Cups. I can't actually remember if I did with like the old M5 lineup or not. But the first one with this lineup was the first Ignition Series, the Rise of Valor. And we qualified. We played some like really, for us at the time, like really, really tough games. And it was sort of like that was when we felt like we were coming into our own, and that was when we felt like we were improving a lot, was when we were getting consistent results against teams that were regarded quite highly. And I guess it was during that run that we I'm trying to remember if that was the question. Is that's when we regarded ourselves as better? Yeah.
I mean, are you pleased with how far you got in Rise of Valor? Like, as a team that kind of came through, that was a tournament you guys came through on, and I mean, were you pleased with the end result, or?
I mean, we were. Look, we thought we could take it, maybe a little naively, but we ran into an unfortunate situation where we had to play with a sub for our last day. So we still ended up beating some like very strong teams, even with a sub that we'd barely practiced with, hadn't really scrimmed with, and he had a stellar performance as well. But it was sort of like when we were, I guess holding our own then. It was good, but like it was a bit disappointing that we couldn't we don't know where we would have placed had we had everyone playing.
So from starting off then, when you guys first initially broke out, to now, for example, have you guys changed that much in like evolving your philosophy in game and like how you approach different teams? Because of course, like when you first come on, it is daunting, but at the same time, you're sort of like, yeah, we have nothing to lose. You know, we don't have too much on the line. If we do well here, then we're going to be in riches, right? It's going to be so good. But now you're in a pretty decent situation. How does that sort of influence what you're doing right now?
It definitely like has been a big part for us, is like when you're versing teams that like you're expected to beat and they hold their own, like it does get to you quite quickly. So that's something like we've learned to deal with, and especially in this game, I feel like with the way the utility works and the way that like there's so many different team comps and so many different ways of playing, that anyone can win on the day. Compared to CS, like I feel like this game is less consistent in that facet. But I guess like we've had to change like how we practice. We've had to sort of figure out systems and to ensure that we are like, what's the word? Just basically consistently practicing and practicing well. So we've come from a team where we have 5 individually skilled members and we're all hitting our shots, to now having to think about what we're doing and try and like wonder and think about what we can do differently. Because when you really get to that top level of play, you can't just walk around and hit heads.
I want to talk about something you just brought up there as well. You mentioned like, you feel like there are situations where unlike CS, any team can still beat anybody on the day. So does that mean that you feel that the current Oceanic region is a bit more tumultuous? Like there's a bit more ability for underdog teams to win, or there's not really, maybe you can ignore the rankings a little bit. Outside of maybe a few teams right at the top, everyone else is a little bit more even. Or how do you feel like you guys place among the rest of the teams in that regard?
I think it's a bit of both. So when I look at, like, I haven't watched every pro game, but from the games I watched, like, I mean, we haven't had an NA20 recently, but you could see Sentinels very smart team, very smart team, and they dominated, and then TSM beat them, and then Sentinels beat TSM, and then TSM beat Sentinels, and I feel like it's because of how creative you can be in this game. If you can't think up something on the fly, then you might just end up losing, no matter how much you practiced.
I think this also differs from region to region when you look at it, because when you look at a style of play of NA, which is quite, I think, frag heavy, especially what it was, and you then look at somewhere like Korea or most Asian Valorant, where it's very like combo based, strat based, it almost feels like a MOBA.
Yeah,
like how they play the game. When you're starting to look at new strats, like when every patch comes out and things get changed, or a new agent comes out, new map, which is probably a great talking point for later. Good work, me. But like, which region do you draw inspiration from the most?
So I mean, in this last weekend, you saw a lot of teams pulling out the strats from Vision Strikers. I can't remember which country they're from.
Korea.
I've only just started actually watching the Korean matches, and it's really awesome to see how they play. Like really cool to see just how different it is. But already you see the teams from OS are picking up their strategies and using them, and you kind of know, like, hey, they're running this comp, it's this round, they're probably going to do that push that Vision Strikers do, and then you can counter that. So whilst it is whilst it's very different, like how they play and how perfectly they place their util, it can be stopped, I think, quite easily if you know it's coming.
It's almost like that case of like, once everyone starts doing it, it kind of loses its shine. Like, because everyone just manages to counter strat it.
Exactly. Yep.
But I think Vision Strikers is a really good team to look at generally. I think out of all the teams that play Valorant right now, they're the most innovative, and like they're the one team, aside from like maybe EXO because regional pride, but like they're the one team that like I want to go see at an international tournament and be like, I want you to smash NA and EU. like I want to put like Ed A in place, and I feel like Vision Strikers is the team to do that. I'm not sure if anyone else has any like different thoughts on that. Like what do you think, Rack? But like,
well, yeah, I mean, I love to see North America get ruined. You know, that comes from my love of League of Legends.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
Sorry, you don't need to do that. Culver's already doing that.
Well, you went even darker than me, Avril. Thank you. Now
I was going to say,
less...
Avril's like, are we talking about League of Legends right now? Because I'm pretty sure we've just watched Worlds and then seen them get dismantled. Like, wait, Avril, stop. This is the Valorant podcast, right? It's not the League of Legends podcast. That's on Thursday, okay?
I'll see you there on Thursday then.
The one thing that I wanted to talk about in that sort of conversation, though, is like, this also is dependent on the format, because when you're coming up with like innovative strategies, if it's a best of one and you catch a team out, it's like, okay, that's cool. But you craft a scenario where it's a best of 3 or a best of 5. Like, it's multiple layers, right? And we don't exactly have the most expansive like draft system within Valorant to make some like next level plays in that area, or like bans, for example, and add another element for that. But there still is like layers to which, I mean, you use the example with Sentinels versus TSM. That was a lot of like, it was, yeah, sure, one team played better on the day, but I think they were just creating different strategies for each other, and they were just like trading blow for blow a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that almost like in putting it in and not having seen the games, but like in putting it in not the nicest terms. But I think that sums up kind of the first Strike Open qualifier for you guys, because in the Swiss stage, you guys went 4-2, and those were all BO1s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and then when it came to Sunday's games, you lost 2-1 to Over and 2-1 to Rip and Tear.
Yep.
Like,
so it was like, that was a lot of there wasn't like a lot of like, that's what I'm saying. There wasn't like a lot of like super creative like counter strategy sort of things. It was more like just trying to recognize what the other team was doing and trying to, I guess when they were going to do it, and try and figure out a way to secure a kill or two or the round. And I guess the team that did that better is the one that ended up coming out on top. But for all our games, they were really, really, really close games where it ended up just coming down to like fumbling a clutch, or someone hit some nice shots, or even though there was a lot of strategy involved, like it does seem very, very back and forth.
I kind of want to highlight the Rip and Tear series a little bit again. Haven't seen it, haven't been able to see it. We'll talk about that later.
That would be nice.
But like Rip and Tear were a team that you beat in LPL Evo 2-0. Yep. And then it came around to First Strike, you lost to them. Like, was that just a case of maybe you went in a little bit underprepared for the match? Maybe there was a little bit of complacency?
I think like we did put in quite a bit of practice, but it wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't like we could watch their VODs and just completely counter-strike how they play, because you can, in one day, completely change how your team plays a map. And we did for I think it was for Haven, which was our map pick. We ended up losing that, and their map pick Bind, which they put a lot of prep into, we ended up winning. So it's just how, I guess, their comp and how they've practiced plays into our comp and how we practiced.
And obviously a little bit on your LPL Evo run as well. Like, you're currently 4-1 in Group B. I think LPL Evo is actually a very good tournament to look at if you're in Oceania, especially because I think there's a lot of like hidden talent in LPL Evo. Because you still got teams like Kangaroo and Overt who have managed to qualify for First Strike Opens. You've got, look, he's pointing at himself. You've got teams like Riot and Rip and Tear as well. Like, are there any teams that people might sleep on just because they're in LPL Evo?
I think the ones you mentioned for sure, although some of them have proven themselves with very good results in the past, like Rip and Tear, of course. But one that is, I mean, we're versing them next, Water Bottle. I'm trying to remember whether they qualified last weekend, but if they didn't, I'm sure they will next. They're, from what I can tell and from who they versed, like they seem like a very, very strong team.
Water Bottle did not qualify, but
we'll be versed them this week and I guess this weekend.
Actually, no, they did qualify. Sorry, I was blind.
I remember back on Direwolves, we played against Water Bottle in the LPL qualifiers even, and they were a team that got dangerously close to beating us at the time. I was like, damn, this is actually a team that could come through pretty big. So that's a name that I was like, oh yeah, Water Bottle, that's right, that team. Like, damn, all right.
I mean, they've got some like pretty good CS names on there. Like when you look at names like Burnski, Impex, and Pairs, like they've all got some street cred in the CS scene. Which, look, it's like the questions that I can't ask 2 years' time is like, how good are CS:GO players in Valorant? Like they're gonna be amazing. Like yeah. But yeah, that's a team that I think a lot of people haven't taken notice of because they haven't really been in any of the big tournaments. And so, like, for their first appearance in LPL Evo and then now in the ROB qualifiers, I think, like, teams are actually going to start taking notice of them.
And also, Kyta, you guys beat Rip and Tear in LPL Evo, so...
Yeah. We did indeed, yeah.
I brought that up, Kev. It's a sore spot for him. Kev's still got his mind on the VOD review before the stream.
the fact that you guys beat Rip and Tear in Evo, but then couldn't quite do in the Rise of Out. Oh, man, damn, that's almost
next time. It does sting, but like it just goes to show like you can't underestimate any team in this game. Like that's what I was saying before. Like any team can take it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is a big topic. We're moving to a very big topic in O's Valorant right now, and I think it's one that you might have a few opinions on. So before the ROV qualifiers format was announced. Well, it was after the format was announced, but in another announcement, Fortress said that 5 OPL teams were going to be directly seeded into ROV, which is the closed qualifier. 32 teams don't have to play through the OQs like you guys do have Riot.
Yeah,
that came like within 24 hours of you guys signing at Riot.
Could you repeat real quick which teams get to auto qualify?
So the teams that get to auto qualify, so it's ExoClan, Ground Zero, and Mindfreak, and then it's also Avant, Direwolves, Order, Gravitas, and Legacy. Now, Order has announced their roster. They picked up Team Launch with a few changes, most notably minus Ferg, minus Wizard, plus Disco and Autumn from Ground Zero. Avant still has their team. Direwolves, Legacy, and Gravitas, as far as I know, are still in the market looking for a team. And when you think about the fact that ROV is November 14 is when it starts, they're going to have to find some teams quick.
So it's the teams from OPL that are getting the direct invite. Yeah, so it's just the teams. It's not like they've picked up any squads yet, although there are squads moving and shaking, and I guess there's now an opportunity for a lot of the unsigned teams to make some promise, and that was almost something that you guys at Riot kind of missed out on. Not that it's a bad thing. Like, obviously, it's great to finally get signed, but like, was that playing in the back of your head somewhat when that announcement came through?
I mean, so as it does seem disappointing at face value, but I think for me, the only thing I really care about is proving myself to myself. So the further I can get in this professional scene, the better it is for me. And the one thing that was attractive with Riot was they noticed us because we were one of the top teams that didn't have a coach. And it was sort of just us figuring it out as we went. And I think that was their sort of faith in us because of that is what made me want to sign with them. In terms of the OPL teams, yeah, it is a little bit of a shame, but it is what it is. We still have our opportunity to get in, and that's like, if we don't make it through there, then we didn't deserve to anyway, in my opinion. But I think I'm very confident that we'll qualify this weekend.
Yeah. Have you guys picked up a coach now?
So we're still on the market, but we sort of had some sessions with some people, and already I can see like the benefit in how we practice. It's night and day, so I'm excited.
Get in, Kev. Get in. Contract's up. You see those VOD reviews on stream.
What do you mean? OCE is very coach unfriendly. We covered this. This is why I'm bringing it in now. Fun fact, NA teams don't have any problems with the coaches. It's just OCE, so, you know, that's how it is.
Oh, good old OCE scrim culture. It's not good. It's not good.
No good.
I hate hearing the stories, and we've spoken about this before and run it back, but I hate hearing the stories of like, no coaches in scrims, or like, no, you can't.
Don't be surprised if coaches don't really want to work in OCE, but you've kind of done it to yourself. Not you specifically, but the scene, the players and teams. You've done it to yourselves. You've like made it more difficult for your own region to improve because of this. Because like it's going to be much more harder for coaches to do their jobs or want to join the scene or join any teams to do those jobs. And even if they do, it's going to be really tough for them to like really maximize the value of coaching. And it is going to end up, it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy as well, where like you'll get a coach, the coaching structure, the coaching like environment is not healthy in OCE, which means they're not going to be able to really do what they need to be able to or get the maximum value. And then it ends up being that like, well, it would seem then objectively like, well, the coaching must be pretty bad because, well, you're not getting much value of the coaching, even though it's not their fault. And then you're not going to want to get coaches anymore. So it just won't fix itself because, it will just make it a situation where, it's a continuously revolving cycle where like coaches can't do anything because they don't have the capability to do so. And then it seems like in that case, when you do have a coach, it's pretty bad, and then you don't want to get a coach because it's pretty bad, and then you don't get a coach, and then it just keeps going around and round and round and round and round until like OCE finally play an international event and we get smacked around.
Yeah.
Have you seen, like, without naming names or doing anything, like, have you had scrims of your own where it's like, I guess unfriendly to coaches is the best way to put it, or like it's been
from when I was coaching?
Oh, I mean, yeah, Kev, you were never allowed in scrims, bro. I've heard all the stories. I'm more interested about the man in the bottom right.
So for us, I mean, we never. We scrimmed because at the start there was a big huff about whether you're allowed coaches in or not, and we ended up just scrimming teams that didn't have coaches at the start when we didn't have a coach. So there wasn't really like any issues there or any bad blood or anything. And now that we have had a few sessions, like they've had no issues with it at all. And I think if they did, for us, I think the solution is you Discord stream your POVs, right, and they just watch that. But I'm not too sure. Other than that, I feel like that could be a method if there is no coaching slot added, or I'm not really sure. Like
it's okay, but it'd be like if a rugby coach just gets to go on the field and gets blindfolded. It's like you can still hear the players, but you can't see. That would be the equivalent. But,
yeah.
It's fine. It's like, you get to have one of your senses. Maybe you can smell the players too, and just figure out what positions. It smells like we got to try there, but I can't quite tell. It's basically the scrimming situation.
I'm just gonna say that when I said that streaming Discord POVs was a wonderful way to VOD review, I got berated on the podcast, and now it's seeming like the only thing people are doing and talking about now is Discord POVs and recording them for coaches.
Yeah,
okay. I was ahead of the times.
The prophet.
Yeah, and
Good on you, Ducky.
I'm expecting a formal apology in writing. You can tag me on Twitter, both of you.
We'll get a petition.
But God, I've just lost my train of thought. I guess with coaching in the region aside, I really want to look towards some of the later halves of First Strike, because if you do make it in to ROV, there's going to be some pretty big changes for you, because Patch 111s are releasing tomorrow, and Patch 111 marks not only the release of Icebox in competitive like matchmaking, but also the release of Sky, the wonderful Australian agent who really sounds like she was voiced by an American. But we hold that aside. Icebox is going to be enabled from November 24 onwards, and Sky is going to be enabled from November 9 onwards for First Strike. First of all, do you think that's enough of a competitive buffer? Because that's 2 weeks for Sky, 4 weeks for Icebox. Or do you think that maybe they should have been disabled all the way through? And also, have you guys started looking at potential strategies and how teams are going to start playing out this map and with Sky herself?
So yeah, with as you said, there's like a 2-week buffer, or did you say there's a 4-week buffer?
So it's 2 weeks for agents and 4 weeks for maps.
Okay. So I think like that's a pretty decent buffer for the map, and I think with the agents, it's definitely something worth exploring. Because I think that's where, as I said before, like any team can win on the day. If you come up with something that hasn't been seen before, hasn't been shown in any other region's tournaments. If you can find a piece of utility that changes the way a portion of the map is played, then you can definitely take the tournament.
And I think I mean, I guess in OC you're kind of blessed with the sense that like Sky's enabled November 9 for competitive play, and ROV doesn't start until November 14. So you've got that 5-day period where you can potentially scout other regions, and generally just see how she looks in some team comps. Like, I want to hear your initial thoughts on her, like after you saw her release video. You know, how I think could potentially slot into the meta. Obviously, without leaking any special strats that you've managed to draft up before she's hit the live servers. But I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on the new agent.
Yes, I mean I haven't seen too much yet. I think I saw the I can't remember what language it was, but they released like a video on Twitter which sort of shows the abilities when they're first announced. And I saw the first thing was the flashbang. That sort of blew my mind with how much like space that you could create with it. But I don't know the specifics, like whether it only takes one shot to kill it, or whether you can pop it when you hear them shooting. Because I feel like it'd be very, very, very strong tool for taking a site. Because you can't really turn away. But I'll have to see how it plays in game. I'm sure there'll be some insane ways that you can use the util, and I think the ultimate, the 3 drones that just automatically lock on, and I think, do they stun or
they bring near site?
It's literally
near site, yeah.
It's literally from Spike Rush. It's the wolves from Spike Rush.
Yeah,
like 3 of them, and they're not wolves anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, lucky that's the ultimate, not a normal ability, because it seems very, very strong.
You can shoot it. You can destroy it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All of it's basically destructible.
Yeah, but if that's like something you used when you're entering a site, like I feel like you're never going to win the duel against that. If you have to shoot, first of all, they would sniff out where you are. Secondly, if you shoot that, then you're getting shot. And if you shoot the players, then you're probably going to get traded because you're blind. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen it in Spike Rush, but it seems quite strong to me.
You're telling me you haven't played Spike Rush?
No, I don't really play Spike Rush.
I tell you what, Spike Rush is the best arcade mode ever put into a video game.
Yeah?
I love Spike Rush. The only thing
did you say the ARAM? What?
I mean, ARAMs with the boys after party last week was pretty good. I did enjoy that last week. Maybe Dominion, but that's not Valorant. That's League of Legends. I'm really interested to see how she slots into comps, because when you think about it, you can now just run like Flash City. You can get. I think she has 3 flashes, like she has 3 hawks that she can throw out. Partner that with a phoenix, she partner that with a breach. Hell, chucking a rainer for fun.
Yeah,
it's like, and I never forget this video, but it reminds me of the video of Scream when he's in B main on Ascent, and he gets hit by the breach stun. He gets hit by the flashes from Phoenix and breach. He gets hit by the Brimstone ultimate and dies to a molly, and he's just like, you see the despair on his face as he looks into his cam.
Dude, that's like watching the clips like Huxel and Genji getting like destroyed by all this different utility and stuns and stuff in like an official match. It's just like, yep, that's gameplay for you right there. Like,
interactive.
Can't move for 10 seconds. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, if in case you didn't catch us when we were talking about the start of this, patch 111 drops overnight tonight, October 28th. It should be on OS servers by around 8 a.m. AEDT, which is 7 a.m. if you live in Queensland, 7:30 p.m. if you live in Adelaide, or 5 p.m. if you live in Perth. I love daylight savings. It's wonderful. I don't get it. Can we just all stick on one time for the entire year? Can you guys on the East Coast stop being fancy?
I mean, it's better than coming home and it's pitch black and leaving and it's pitch black, but I guess it would make it easy to game.
Yeah. And I guess, obviously, those are the big points for patch 111, but there's also some smaller points. I remember that Riot was talking about like some Cypher nerfs. There's also some breach buffs and some Brimstone buffs as well, and some Killjoy nerfs. They haven't released the patch notes yet, I'm pretty sure, although they've emailed them out to teams. For NA, because they've decided to patch right in the middle of First Strike. When is Riot implementing a tournament realm for Valorant? We don't know.
It wouldn't help. Like, even if there was a tournament realm, like, what are you going to do? Like, give out like hundreds of tournament realm accounts to this open qualifier? It would work for like an invite only tournament where you have to deal with like a small number of accounts for like 8 teams, but you're not going to do it for hundreds of teams. So yeah, it wouldn't work anyway.
So Kyta, I'd like to pose this question to you. Riot calls you up. And they're like, yo.
Which Riot?
I was just say, you put yourself in the bin with that one, Ducky, because
Ziegler calls you up, right? Ziegler,
Yeah.
the game designer. He calls you up and he's like, "Yo, Kyta, we're kind of struggling for patch changes right now. We think some stuff's pretty busted. We need you to nerf one agent.
Yeah.
Which agent are you choosing and why?"
Ooh. Honestly, not that controversial, but probably Revert Breach.
Revert Breach?
Yeah.
Revert him to which one? Which change? The before 3 flashes to 2 or what?
Yeah, I think 2 flashes was I mean, I don't know if you again like the stream video going up B Octo on bind, he doesn't get to play. I think he says something like, "What happened, men?" He's got no idea what's going on. You just don't get to play the game. Exactly. It's different from like defaulting and removing like a Sage Wall and Sage Slows. Like it's far more, I think, oppressive to stop site hits. But yeah, for me personally, like I play Jet and the Breach Jet combo is busted. I love it. It's great fun. But it definitely stops players dead in the water, that's for sure.
Can I be honest about one thing? Just to comment on that Breach. Breach specifically is highly played in OCE, where it's not in NA. If you want to call for difference, like OS gameplay, OS like agent choices for Breach go as high as 65% for Rise of Valor, which wasn't that long ago. In North America, even recently, it's like for example, First Strike North America that just happened today, Breach play rate 33%. It's not very highly played in NA.
Yeah.
It is. I speak to OS players and like OS teams. I talk to EXO. They're like, "Oh man, yeah, Breach is broke. Breach is like the best character." And then I go and cast my NA. I'm like, no one's playing Breach. Clearly, they don't agree. So I don't know what it is. I think OCE has developed its own meta where Breach is really good, whereas NA are like past it. They're way past Breach. They had a period where Breach was highly played as well, and I think teams either evolved past it somehow. They got over it. They maybe worked around it, adapted around it. Something happened where NA just decided actually Breach is not that good. So this is why I look towards Breach. And I think everyone in OCE is like, "Oh my god, you can't buff Breach. He's already broken." Everyone in NA is like, Breach, who cares? And people in pubs, like, I don't think Breach has very high play rate in pubs at all, which is why when you look at Riot balancing the game, they're going to be looking at like pub ranked stats as well. And you're going to have very low, like they even said, I remember I read the thing, like despite pros thinking Breach is decent and in the right place, in pubs, Breach apparently has a very low win rate, like an extremely low win rate. So
yes, Breach has always had like one of the lowest win rates in the game overall. Like the thing that you're saying right now with NA, it only being 33%, like that tells me that maybe they think Breach is more like map situation where OCE thinks he's 100%. Like a Swiss Army knife and he can be used everywhere. That's like my initial reaction to what you just said.
Yeah, it is. Like that 33 I'm talking about, for example, on Haven, it's down to 13. On Split, it's 69. So like on Haven, just doesn't get played at all. On Split, it's like most teams, like 2 out of 3 teams are like, yeah, we'll play Breach. But even I was reviewing a VOD today, and the team's like, no, we'll play Phoenix instead of Breach. They should do it.
I think they said somewhere in a tweet. I read somewhere in a tweet that the issue with Breach in ranked was that you can't capitalize on his utility, or your team can't capitalize on his utility because it requires such precise timing. So
teamwork.
Which is not always there in ranked, that's for sure. But I feel like NA just decided. I don't think they counter-stratted Breach. I think they just decided that they wanted to have fun playing the game. To be honest,
they play Phoenix though. So like,
I mean, when you're trying to win, you say that.
I'm kidding.
Like, okay, yeah, well, I was going to say like, just to rub the salt into OCE wounds a little bit more, but like NA has a monthly 10K tournament, and if you're playing for huge cash all the time, and even then, if you're not playing for 10K every month, you're playing like 1K every weekend. You're not just gonna bin yourself to not win. So they are clearly picking based on what they believe is the best, and they just believe that Breach is only the best 1/3 of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to counterface that with the fact that, like, when you look at Korean Breach pick rates, like they're pretty high there, and they've nailed down the combat, like the combo, whether it be Breach Jet, whether it be Breach with another duelist, or like for like retaking sites or entering, they've nailed the combo down to a T. And I said it earlier that Korean Valorant plays a very MOBA-esque style of Valorant where it's all about the ability combos, and I don't think there is any stronger operator pick that you can do if you're not operator pick, agent pick that you can do in Valorant, if you're playing around ability combos, than if you're playing Breach, because he's got the stuns to knock like now with the operator changes, he's got the stuns to knock people off lines. He's got the flashes that you can then combine with a quick entry, depending on who you've got following and behind it. And I feel like it's not a case of the NA teams thinking that Breach is terrible. It's a case of the NA style of play being totally incompatible with Breach. Like NA is a very frag heavy region. They rely a lot on double duelist comps. They rely on, I wouldn't say quick executes. They rely on frags. They rely on just running into a site and getting all the kills. And, you know, when you've got a region where you have players like Brax who are aim stars, that works perfectly. But I feel like, and it sucks because we haven't an international event to try this yet and test this out and see what actually is the proper, true, good meta. But I feel personally that Breach is good and that the ability usage and combos is good. It's not compatible with the NA style of play, and I think if they get dumpstered at an international tournament, they'll probably need to reconsider how they play Valorant. But I guess for now, it doesn't hurt. Like, at the end of the day, every region can kind of just play their own games of Valorant without international play being a major factor in changing the meta.
And I also think Asia has had their own meta developers. Well, this is what happens when there's no international players. Everyone just is secluded in their own region, and they only scrim and play each other. And so, and it's interesting that different regions have a different sort of meta going on. Because not that I don't believe you, but I went ahead and checked, you know, AW Extreme Masters and Clan Battle Act 2 for the stats, and Breach is up there as high as 85%, which is even more than like OCE. So they value it even higher. And what's even funnier is, like, Sage is down to like a 0% in NA. Sage for Clan Battle 2 is at 24%. So some teams
Koreans really value Sage. Like, they still use those so much.
On split, 60% split, 60% Sage gameplay. I'm like, what? They're still playing Sage on split. This is crazy. The Koreans, they're doing something different. There's still a lot of Jet gameplay. The biggest difference is NA is starting to play a lot more Reyna. I'm starting to see Reyna hit as high as like 40-something%. Whereas for Korea, Reyna's dropping, she's right down at 10 or lower. So very different stuff.
We can talk about this all we want. At the end of the day, Cypher's going to be near 100% and Viper's going to be near 0.
Not after this patch. Who knows? After this patch, Cypher's getting the Sage treatment and Cypher's gone. And then it's more Killjoys.
Apparently there was some leaked patch notes, but I haven't been able to find them. And I'm really curious to see what they're doing to Cypher. Because I personally think he's the agent that needs nothing most. But
I think
who cares about a journalist's opinion about this?
When you destroy Cypher's equipment, he loses $200 every time.
Oh. Maybe they just turn it into a selfie cam.
You got people running into the line. Like, yeah, I can see behind me.
It's like the Gears of War in cover.
Cypher's cam can only record people if Cypher has like written forms signed already.
Consent forms.
Yeah, otherwise the cam it's not allowed to look at people.
It just kind of blurs out the image a little bit. Like, it blocks out enough that you don't know like which agent's entering site.
Wow.
Yeah.
Creative balancing. I like it.
All right, so Crashmate has actually jumped in. Former guest of Run It Back, by the way. Wonderful episode. You should go back and watch it on the YouTube channel. When Cypher dies, his tripwires and camera become visible and his tripwires become disabled. That is the change, apparently, from the leaked patch notes, which I think is huge. Like, that means if you find a Cypher early round, his tripwires become disabled. And that also stops, like, one Cypher.
Can Killjoy have her stuff disabled? That doesn't seem fair. This literally will mean that instead of playing Cypher, everyone plays Killjoy. Like, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
That is what's going to happen.
Can they just disable Sentinels?
I want to
know.
Not
the team, but the agent class.
I mean, like, you can't do that to one agent and then not touch the other one when there's a very clear alternative. It's like, oh, sweet, we'll just play the next best thing then. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. I want to know how the camera becoming visible after he dies helps anyone.
It's bait, bro. It's actually that's a Cypher buff. It's a bait. You see the camera,
it's a buff.
Yeah. Right. It's making sure that the balances are like a little bit balanced. You know?
Yeah.
But I think that like when you look at like because what I've noticed, at least when my wonderful team was still practicing, and also when I've watched a little bit, is that Cyphers also play a primary lurk role, like quite heavily. And so like if your lurker dies on attack early round, that Cypher's traps to then watch flanks are useless, which is actually going to be a huge change. And obviously, like on defense, maybe it doesn't matter so much because there's obviously retake stuff happening, and Cypher's the best agent to play retake on ever. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how that potentially changes. And who knows? Killjoy is also getting changed in this patch. I haven't seen the patch notes. If Crashmate has and can say what the Killjoy changes are, if it happens to her,
then both will be played.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. It needs to happen. If Cypher loses the ability to use stuff after death, same has to be applied to Killjoy. Otherwise, it is going to be a landslide in terms of players moving towards Killjoy from Cypher. To keep them both balanced and keep them both relevant, then it has to be both of those agents have their stuff like deactivated.
Well, we already saw like that sort of thing happen with Sage, right? It's more Riot putting their foot down and saying, we want this particular agent to play this sort of style. I mean, you can use the wall as a prime example, right? You just can't put a wall in front and just stop a push immediately. They changed that, so you have to, you can shoot it down, right? You just can't use it as a band-aid for against other teams for pushes, especially like on eco rounds or whatever. I think this is just them ensuring that they want Cypher to be played in one particular style, and that's to be like an anchor.
Or not played at all, Lamel.
Or not played at all. You know, that is Riot's philosophy in some of these balance changes.
Here's how you know I could do game design. No, I'm kidding. But here's one thing they should do for Sage is they should, instead of making the wall the way it is now, they should like change it so the wall, the Sage wall that is, you get 2 walls, but they're both 400 HP instead of 800 HP. You get 2 400 HP walls, because what it should be doing, because I agree, the way they did the wall change is so that you don't just get to put this massive HP wall up, like this huge May wall that you can't get through, and then that's it. So they're making it so that if you just put it up in reaction, it doesn't do a lot. So it has to sit there for a while. But what actually would make it quite creative is teams actually want it to boost with that. You can do creative things in terms of boosting, but you're not going to do that as much if you only have one wall. But if you have 2 walls, you can use one to boost. You can maybe use 2 to boost. You can maybe do, you can be a lot more interesting with it rather than just be.
That was my first thought as well. Was the double boost?
No, you won't be able to do that. If you as a future game designer, you put one wall up and try to put the second wall up, it'll fail to like connect on the second wall. So, yeah.
What should happen is like if you put 2 walls on each other, that's when you get the 800 HP wall.
I mean, technically, because you'd have to shoot through both of them. You would have to shoot through both of them. So I guess, but you can make them cost a lot as well. You can keep the price the same if you want. Like you can make them still like, how much is it now? Is it 300? You can still make them cost 300 each.
Pretty expensive, isn't it? 400?
It's 400. It's still 400. They haven't reduced the price.
I'm pretty sure they reduced the price. It can't be 400 because a 400 HP wall make a nerf. No, I'm like 99%.
It might be 300. I don't know. I haven't played Sage in ages. I've thankfully got off Sage duty and I'm now on Omen duty, so I don't have to bother about that agent anymore. It's wonderful.
Lucky you. Good
I know.
job,
I'm very proud of it.
Very, very happy.
Yeah. Before we wrap up the show, there are actually 2 points I want to bring up. The first one is at OS, and we mentioned at the top of the show, is that Order of Sign team launch. With the roster of Tux, Texter, Dick Stacy, Disco, and Orton, which leaves 3 OPL teams who need to sign rosters. Now, Kyta, if you were a manager of an OPL team right now, which free agent roster would you like to see picked up? And it's not your own team.
We're not free agent.
Like, what free agent team do you think is possibly like the best one for players to pick up or teams to pick up?
It's a good question. I mean, I'd have to say the one that's been performing the best recently has been Akatsuki or Akatsuki. I should say that better considering there's a Naruto poster behind me. But I'm pretty sure my
what is it? Is it
Akatsuki
or what? I'm pretty sure it's Akatsuki. Is it not?
That's what I used to say, and then I got told it was Akatsuki.
But
so I've just given up. Oh, my teammates. I think.
Weebs.
Do they speak Japanese? Like,
I'm not sure.
So you got told by a bunch of other people who don't speak Japanese how to pronounce Japanese. That makes sense.
Maybe.
It's the internet, Kev.
They might know better than me though. I have no idea.
The person who watches the most anime knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
I was just going to say Ducky. Yeah.
So we've got the chat. Deku says Akatsuki, and then Ty says Akatsuki. So no, we still don't know. Essentially,
no help whatsoever.
But yeah, they've been performing. They've been performing really well. We're yet to verse them. I'd really like to verse them and see how the games go. But they seem like a very, very strong team from what I've seen.
Do you have any thoughts, gentlemen, on which 8 free agent teams? Obviously, there's 3 that need to go. So start off with you, Rack. Who do you think who else? If Akatsuki's one of the teams getting picked up, who should be the second team getting picked up?
Akatsuki was my first choice. I'm not gonna lie. Who else do we have? I need to get like a list in front of me or something.
I know who I want. I just hope you don't say it so I get to say it.
Okay.
Do you want me to say it while you get your list?
Yeah, you do yours. You do yours, Kev. You do yours, Kev.
Everyone, one of them is going to be what everyone thinks I'm about to say, pants down. I think maybe, but actually I think Rip and Tear are also in the same boat. So it's between Rip and Tear and pants down for me. You probably get both. But Rip and Tear have probably had more reliable results recently. I think pants down they had much better results a little while ago. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. I haven't even checked the First Strike results, so I don't know where Pants Down are in the First Strike results. Maybe someone can correct me, but I'm pretty sure at this rate
they've qualified. Yeah,
they qualified. They made it in through the lower bracket. I'm pretty sure they beat Spectral 2-0.
And what did Rip and Tear do?
Rip and Tear also qualified by beating our wonderful Kyta down here. You've just really opened up the wounds, man.
I forgot. I'm back. Sorry, I was muted. Did you say something?
Yeah. He said nothing. There's nothing to worry about here, man. It's all good.
Thank you.
It's fine, man. And just so you guys realize as well, Kyta barely missed out on getting a 1-to-1 KD ratio. It's 56-57. Bad luck. So
that's tragic.
50 hours of aim live. There you go. That's what you need to do.
One kill off, mate. 50 hours of aim live. One kill off, my man. High fives all around. But yeah, Rip and Tear is probably the team that's just barely edges out Pants Down, I think, for me to get picked up.
Yeah, both of them. Looking from the results, they would be your most reliable from what I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
That'd be the sensible choice.
Yeah. And I think one that I guess I'd like to float up as myself is, I think, and we mentioned them at the top of the show, it is Water Bottle, because I think this is a real up-and-coming team within the region. I think they've shown a lot of promise through LPL Evo and now through ROV, managing to qualify for ROV. And look, I think if it's not now, it's 3 months down the line, someone's going to pick these guys up. And I think it's good. Almost in the sense that maybe Riot is throwing some of these OPL teams under the bus. But look, if it means more teams invest into Valorant in Oceania, I'm all ears, because I think this scene has a very bright and promising future. And the more teams that get signed, just like you guys, Kyta and Magic 5, the better. So, yeah. There's a lot of free agent teams out there, and look, I bet you the teams are shopping around and slowly getting some stuff locked in, and we'll probably see that once RFB rolls around on November 14. The second point that I want to bring up, and I think of this as a really interesting story, at least that we can't really relate to it here in OS, but I think it's a very big pickup when you're looking at NA, is that Cloud9 has signed the all-women's team of Magical as Cloud9 White, who won the For the Women's Summer Showdown in NA. It's the team of Alexis, Anidro, Jazzykins, Katsumi, and Mel. I can't think of a single Valorant player on OS who is a woman. And I don't know how to feel about that. I guess it's just the game's not big enough here, or like there's not enough players at that higher level. I'm trying to think of one, but I don't think there is one.
Unless it's like someone we don't know about. Like there's someone in a team. I mean, where's the cutoff as well? Like, does it have to be like a top 8 team? Does it have to be top 16? Do they have to have played it like in a Rise of Valor? Do they have to be an X or Y thing? Like, at what point? Where's the cutoff as well? Because, I mean, I don't know. Unless we know every player in every team, and someone.
I'm kind of looking at like LPL Challenger, LPL Evo. Like, if the teams are in there, then like that's probably like where I'd because that's what like top 24. And then that's not even all the teams. So you're looking at top 30 teams, I guess, is probably the benchmark. I can't think of a single one. I guess it will come with time, because we had players, I guess, in Overwatch and League of Legends, because you play both, is the greatest example of Strawbella. Yeah. And then we've also got players in CSGO like Bibian, who have managed, and Connie as well, who have made it to the top echelons. And not just on all-women teams, but also playing on mixed teams. And hopefully we can find someone like that in Valorant. And hopefully we can then have our own C9 White, or even better, the gamers can get along, the capital G gamers can get along and actually deal with women in voice chat instead of just yelling at them.
I would say that CS also has like quite a developed like a female league system as well, where they have female competitions, and it's been good to allow them to have I guess tournaments to make themselves known. I don't know. There's going to be discussion around whether people agree or disagree with that type of thing, but at the same time, I think it's done only good things. To be fair, and they could still play in like I guess co-ed tournaments or just regular tournaments if they want to.
Yeah.
But it allows them to be able to succeed in a playing field against other female teams where they get to be on Baroque. I don't know, like it's good in general. So they have a lot of development. What I'm trying to say is that ultimately the message here is that the infrastructure has been there in CS to allow for more female teams and players to come through.
Yes, and especially within a region that has been inconsistent when it comes with tournaments, then especially with Valorant so far, then we expect something to down the line maybe develop itself there.
I don't know. It's just do you think that maybe a system like that could work for ANZ Valorant, Kyta, like where we can potentially get an all-women's tournament, and like maybe I guess Magical was like the one thing out of the FTW Summer Showdown, because I was watching that tournament for work, is like they were actually like really good, and they've proven that they're really good through the first strike qualifiers so far, because I'm pretty sure they've won their first couple of games. I remember seeing on the subreddit that they
top
smashed.
32.
Yeah,
They're top 32 right now.
they smashed a couple of collegiate teams. They smashed a couple of like decent names. Like, do you think that there is potential for OC Valorant to grow in this department?
I think it's. I mean, it'd be fantastic. I think it's like I don't think I've seen maybe one or two women in my just like ranked games. So I don't really see like a bunch practicing, but I've heard it is definitely harder to get into because of it's a TAC FPS. It's very communication heavy, and a lot of the people that play these games aren't amazing at dealing with people of the opposite gender. To put it one way, I think like a sort of a stage where they can find other. I guess that's what you were describing, right? It was like a league for all women teams. Is that what you're saying?
I think league is maybe not like the correct terminology, but it's more like a tournament circuit.
A tournament, yeah.
Like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like the kind of I don't know exactly what it was.
They've done it in CS:GO, and they're doing it in Rainbow Six. So like in Rainbow Six, you've got the XP Esports Women's League.
Yeah.
And in CS:GO, you have, I guess they all tied into Girl Gamer somewhat, and they always had the Girl Gamer global finals.
They have like what are the ones that CLG Red one? I'll look it up. But like Girl Gamers are interesting organization as well, because
that was a DreamHack, I think. That was a DreamHack, like a special DreamHack
they've won
tournament.
They've had a couple different DreamHacks. They've played WESGs, Copenhagen Games, some other tournaments as well. And Dignitas Female. I actually had the pleasure of casting Dignitas Female very early on in beta. So they did play on that one. And there's been like some Katowices in there, some different stuff, some Gamer Girl festivals as well. But that's actually the one for OCE in terms of talking about like what exists in OSN. I mean, that's probably the closest one, and probably the one where you would say has been the one major outlet. I don't know. You would have to find the player base. Like, I think if you get to the stage where you're struggling to make up teams, then it would be, I don't know, it would be strange. It'd be weird. It'd be difficult to really make something happen. You would have to have a case where like there's enough female players that want to do it for it to be a thing. Otherwise, you're going to have like potentially, and Overwatch, the game that we all come from as well, at least for the three of us, actually had a pretty big player base for female players, but also on the competitive side as well. We had contenders one season where like 3 or 4 teams had a female player on it. And you do get into a stage where like, some of them are going to be much better. You're going to go into like a Girl Gamer Festival type event, and Baby Porra Stack has just got to beat everyone. So you do get that as well.
But anyways, I think it's time to wrap it up, lads. Thank you so much for coming on, Kyta. I really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, chatting about, I guess, we've covered a lot of topics, we've covered patch 1.11, covered First Strike and LPL Evo, women's tournaments in Valorant. I think it's all very exciting times. But look, you've still got First Strike to qualify for. Best of luck next week. But in the meantime, where can we find you? Where can we follow you on the socials?
Okay. So my Instagram is, my Instagram. You want my Facebook? No.
Just drop your address in there.
Yeah. I've got
What's up?
I got my address lying around here somewhere. I think.
Yeah.
No, my Twitter is @I'm Kyta, and then my Twitch where I stream. I used to stream a lot more. I've been streaming less because I can't really stream a practice for these tourneys, sadly. My Twitch is /Kyta with an underscore at the end. Unfortunately.
Ooh.
Unfortunately.
You've got the two styles of names here. We've got the Kevin I'm Avril, and you've got the Ducky @Ducky.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, you've got both of them mixed out perfectly.
I wish we could be
Brackets
in
is a little bit left out with the Z.
You need to. He's got the perfect one. You need to be in a situation where like somehow you just luck out and get like the @rackets. There's a guy out there with @Avril who doesn't post at all. I'm like, just give me your account, man. Just give it to me.
It's the same guy with @Ducky.
Yeah.
Same guy with @Ducky.
I've messaged Twitch many times, and they've just given me the flick.
I think so, though, Kyta, you gotta level up because we're the @I'm etc. buddies here. We've entered that club, and I used to be in the /TTTV/Avril _, and then one day I just went ahead and got Avril, and it happened, and it just worked. So now it's
Very
Avril
nice.
_. You just got to get in there, man. You're on the way. You're on the right pathway. Let me tell you,
shoot your shot.
as someone that's walked down that pathway, you're on it.
Very motivational.
Very nice.
Anyways, thank you so much, Kyta, for joining us
you.
tonight. Best of luck in the Rise of Valor qualifiers, which kick off on October 31 for the second open qualifier. I'm pretty sure signups are still up. So if you're watching this podcast and your team hasn't signed up and you think you can make it to Rise of Valor and potentially the First Strike regional finals, feel free to sign up. All the details are on the Fortress Melbourne website. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyta, and good luck over the weekend.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Appreciate it, guys.
That was a really, really good chat, guys. Like, very smart man, very handsome man, if I say so myself. I think he's the most handsome man we've had on the podcast, aside from you two.
That's why I was trying to get his address for you. Just so you can send a mail. Just really nothing weird. Just for mail.
This is why you put on the ring light before the show, Kev.
So I do it for you guys and not even for my own stream.
Such a generous human.
Do you guys know that, by the way, in the middle of all of that, I went ahead and Googled Akutski and how to pronounce it. It is just what I said. So I went and Googled it. And
you're the biggest weeb of us all.
I went there and the Google text-to-speech Japanese lady said Akutski. So there it is. I can see it wasn't Akatsuki. I wanted it to be, but the text-to-speech person said it wasn't. So I'll take that.
You're the biggest plebe now, Kev. You know
I don't watch any anime, but I will Google Japanese stuff.
He wants to make sure he's got his facts checked. I love to see it. Yeah, it's good. It's pre-show prep for him for whenever he casts them. Anyways, lads, I think that wraps us up for another week.
It does.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad 6 days without you lot. It's going to be a sad 6 days without the wonderful viewers in Twitch chat telling us what's going to be happening in the league patch notes and other wonderful things.
I mean, we'll find out tomorrow. Like,
I guess
patch notes are going to be there.
This show's going to be outdated by the time it goes up on YouTube, but whatever. Who cares? People will listen back to it for the wonderful interview that we have with Kyta. Anyways, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in this week for Run It Back. As per normal, we'll be back next Tuesday from 8 p.m. AEDT for all your latest Oceanic Valorant news. In the meantime, if you can't wait that long, please be sure to check out snowballesports.com and check us out on Twitter @snowballesports for all your latest Oceanic esports news, including Valorant. There's been another week of Run It Back, lads. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful night, guys.